Hey guys, it's Phil with Groove Master Resellers coming at you with a special kind of resale video. This is going to be a mix of cool things that I've sold and a few BOLOs mixed in there. A lot of the stuff I had to look up and Google and find and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it'd be pretty fun to do. So let's get going. So this isn't going to be in any kind of order, but this is something that I've sold recently. I think I've mentioned before that I wound up buying a lot of magazines that had to do with crochet, knitting, sewing, a bunch of books and stuff like that. I was actually at a estate sale, and they had, what was it, like 4 huge 5-shelf bookshelves full of this stuff and a few other boxes full. And I walked up to them. I figured it was something that I could flip. Walked up to them, asking them a question. I was hoping that they were going to give me the answer that I didn't want to hear to let me off the hook. I asked them if they would sell me the whole thing for $15. Well, he actually said yes. So I was sunk. So anyway, it's been a lot to get through these, and I haven't listed a bunch of them. But I just wanted to show you that there are some magazines, some crafting magazines that actually sell well. I have some that have sold for a lot more than this. I've lotted up some and sold them for more than this. But this is just an example of one that is actually sold all by itself. It's a -- magic crochet magazine. And it is from 1980s. I have some from the 1970s. There are actually collectors of these. Crochet does really, really well. Knitting does really, really well. Any kind of quilting really does good. There's a big market for it. I've got a bunch of little patterns and books and stuff. And I will probably, off that $15, I've already made about $250 off of it. And I haven't even scratched the scratch of the surface to get them done. I will probably make at least, I'm thinking, if I sell them all, I will probably make about $1,000 to $2,000 on it. All right. So moving on. This is a book. I usually don't buy books. If I do, that's going to be mostly antique books. I go through after the guys have already scanned them with their scanners to find the new books to sell on Amazon. I go in and find the stuff that they were too lazy to. And I leave probably like 98% of them behind. This is one. It's the If book. It's a very famous poem. Ends with, "Then you'll be a man, my son." I've been hearing this poem everywhere. If you Google it, there are thousands of different variances of this poem. They still come out with needlepoint and pictures and prints and stuff and copies of this book. This happens to be the second printing of this, and it's very unique. The first printing actually goes for, gosh, I don't even remember, but it's hundreds of dollars. But this particular one is very interesting because it had printing in it, and you can actually sell things that have printing if they're old enough. But this had this in it, and it also had this. It's a swastika, but this was actually done before World War II, before the Nazi movement. So this was actually the Sanskrit for peace. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to list this on eBay because of that, but it actually sold within a week for $80. I got the full amount for that. So be on the lookout for antique books. Don't pass them up. This was at that same sale that I got the magazines. This was actually what brought me to it. I saw a picture of this. I paid $250 for this lot and a bunch of also other knitting, I think knitting sweater magic or something like that. A bunch of different things put together and quite a few books. But this is the only thing I've actually listed on here. I did have to clean it up. It had been sitting for a while. I don't think it actually had been used. This ribbing thing over here that was new in the box, didn't have to do anything with that. I did buy these pattern cards to go with it. Had to clean it up, had to replace you always have to replace this. There's a felt strip that goes underneath these needles, and it's always nasty. You have to replace that, but that's easy. I think that was like $7. That was easy to do. This is discolored. It sat in the sun. The plastic turned colors. I thought about cleaning that up with peroxide. I do that on other things, but this was just going to be really involved, and I saw how much these were going for. So it's a knitting machine, and this is a ribber, which basically you attach it to it, and if you don't know anything about knitting, then you probably aren't going to know anything about that. I didn't. I had to learn a lot about it. So anyway, that was an amazing, amazing sale. You know, I didn't get it for $225. I got this for $125. So this was a great find and a great bolo. Knitting machines do really well. The brothers do at the top. Now, not all of them sell. If this was separate, the ribbing machine would probably sell for about $500 or $600 by itself. And it did take a little bit of time. It took probably about 3 or 4 months to sell, but it was a really good profit maker. Glass. A lot of people pass up glass. And I don't buy, again, probably I pass up about 98%, especially this Carnival Glass. Most of them, the market has really dropped out of them. There's only a few patterns and a couple of makers that actually sell well. You've got to be real careful with these. You need to put them up to the light to make sure there's no cracks in them because it might not go all the way through. This blue Kobold is a high seller. This pattern that's ruffled is a high seller. It's one of the top selling patterns and top selling types of these bowls. And Northwood is actually a very good maker to find. The problem with this, a lot of times it'll have an N. Let me see if there's one on here. Let's see. I don't know if this one has a mark. They don't always have marks on the back. Nope. A lot of the times they'll have a capital N right back here. And this one actually this is just a hair. It's called a straw mark. It was actually made when this was fired. It's actually straw that was put on, and sometimes the straw will make a pattern in it that doesn't affect the value whatsoever. If it does have chips, it will affect it. If it has a crack, it will really affect the value. So be very careful. But the nice thing is that the estate sale companies, at least here in Nashville, they've caught on to the fact that Carnival Glass, the market's dropped through. So I paid $40 for this one and one other one. The other one I sold for $200, and this one I took a offer of $315. The guy was very, very happy with it. But like I said, the buyers of these they're bears. You've got to make sure that if there are any flaws, make sure there's no chips on these little teeth. If there's any flaws whatsoever, you need to absolutely take very good pictures of it and let the people know. All right, this one, Patrick Nagel. Patrick Nagel is very, very popular. If you're familiar with Duran Duran, their Rio album before they turned to bubblegum crap, this was the artist that did that cover. And I was actually very surprised when I saw these, how much they go for. This is actually a very popular one. This goes all the way from $50. I think I probably got close to the top. I think I may have seen some that were signed for like $400 or $500. This one sold well because it's actually it's double matted, and it's got a very thick sheet of glazing over it and a very solid, heavy frame. A lot of these aren't framed, so I had a lot of competition. I paid $100 for this one. If you saw my grandfather clock in my first video, I got this and another one of these, not this particular print. I got them for $100 a piece to sweeten the deal. It's not signed or anything like that, and I did take an offer of $270. I could have held out. This took about 2 months to sell, and it was hard to ship. Y'all excuse me. Well, that was the love of my life calling, so I had to get it. So anyway, where was I? Okay, so anyway, I took $270 on this. It was a very large box. It did have to go FedEx ground. It was very heavy. What I do with these, if they're glazed, is I will put some styrofoam. Actually, I'll put a sheet of cardboard, cut it out of there, and then I'll put some styrofoam to fill that in. I put the 2-inch bubble wrap all around it. I put a couple of layers of that. And then when I put it in the box, I think I did have to Frankenstein the box. I can't remember if I found one for this. Anyway, then I put, I actually filled this up with peanuts, but I put styrofoam at the bottom and on the top and all sides. And then I filled the rest of it in with styrofoam peanuts. And it made it, it's like I said, it's a bear to ship, but $100 to $270, you can't beat it. All right, this was part of a lot that I got, bought for $500. This again, China. I know a lot of people don't do China, and most China, it's not worth doing it. I don't buy China sets anymore unless they are a couple of different manufacturers that I know that I can sell for a lot, and then it would take a lot for me to put them all together. I separate them out because it's just a real bear to ship. So this is just the salt and pepper that came from, and I think I've got another piece in here. It's Royal Copenhagen. Now, there's a big difference between the different patterns. This one is blue fluted plain, and if you can see, it's kind of fluted. It's got a pattern on it. There's another pattern that's very close to this, so make sure that you look because the other patterns don't go for nearly this. But out of that 500, I think we have 2 more pieces. I believe it was 10 or 12 pieces that we got, and we've already made $3,000 on this. And like I said, this is a very small little salt and pepper shaker. There he goes. All right, moving on. This was actually a consignment. I have a couple consignees that I do. I don't do consignments on a regular basis, but this is from some friends of mine who own a communications company in here in actually in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I sell a lot of their the radios, used radios and stuff. They provide radios for all of the first responders, and this was actually something they had a problem with their system. They bought this for, I believe they go for like $1,600 brand new. They started to try to use it, and they actually figured out the problem before they figured out how to use this. This thing is very complicated. If someone buys it, they know exactly what they're getting and exactly how to use it and exactly what to do with it. As you can see, it wasn't used. It sat in the truck for a while, and so it was a little dusty. I had to clean it up. I have seen these sell for as much as $900 used. I did take $600 on this. I lowered the price. I had this for about 5 months. Started off at $900, and then I brought it down to $600. And when I brought it down to $600, it sold right away because it was a really good deal. But I want to get sold. Fluke is always good. Most of the time, some of their stuff isn't high dollar, but if it says Fluke, you need to look it up and check the comps on them because you can get really good money for them. All right, the next two are some of my favorite picks. Got these back in November. It was a state sale. Wasn't even going to go to one. Was visiting my mother-in-law. When she's staying here in Tennessee during the winter months, she stays about an hour. She's got a little place about an hour from us. And we were visiting, we were bored, decided to find a estate sale, went to it. And I actually didn't buy this on the first day. I went to it. They had these mismarked. They had different manufacturers. They had $250 for this one and another one. And I didn't want to pay it. Whoa. I actually wasn't going to, pictures are gone. There you go. I actually wasn't going to buy this one. And I'll show you the other one because the manufacturer that they had on it was a lower end. But this is it's called a Mountain Dulcimer, not the hammer dulcimers, but Mountain Dulcimers sell for really good money if you can get it at a good price. As it turned out, I came back the next day and I offered them I offered them $75 for the other one and $125 for this one. As it turns out, this was the gem. This was by TK O'Brien's. It's a manufacturer that custom makes their dulcimers. There's all kinds of features that you can add to it, and this one had, I believe, like $600 worth of extra features on there. It was sold new for $1,600. It did have a few scratches. I'm not sure if I can show them here. Yeah, it had a couple of little scratches from being set on someone's lap and must have rubbed it, or their belt buckle or whatever. It did come with a strap. But this was really, really cool. That's not right. That's not right. Oh, whew. Okay, switch that. This is the one that I paid $75 for. This is the one I wanted because it had the hummingbird. All right, let me get things straight. Boy, that sure didn't look good. Okay, so I wound up selling this one for $200 just before Christmas. This is the one that I was talking about. Came with a hard case, beautiful hammered dulcimer, gorgeous shape. I think there might have been a couple little tiny scratches. It has an active pickup built in. Came with all this stuff. I showed inside you can find in acoustic instruments, acoustic guitars, or banjo. Well, anyway, anything like this, violins. There's always should be a label inside of it. If you can shine a light in there and look, you should be able to see a model number and a maker. They didn't do that for some reason. So I did sell this one for $1,300. This one, like I said, it goes brand new for $1,600. But as far as I could tell, it hadn't been used. So between the two of them, $200, I made $1,500 on that. So really good buy. And again, it's called a mountain dulcimer. If you can find these, you get them at good price. Especially if you can get the 6-string. I think the other one was a 4-string. Yeah, the other one's a 4-string. They come 4 and 6. The 6 strings do go for more. And so anyway, that's that. This was something we bought. Actually, I bought this for Myrna. It is a French food processor. These things sell for about, I believe, like $600 or $700 new. Might have been more. It's been a while. We had this for a while. We actually paid $40 for it, new in the box, on the last day of an estate sale. It was one of those Hail Marys where I went to them because they had 500 on it, and I said, this is going to be a ridiculous offer. So I just want you to know that I know this is a ridiculous offer. And I offered it to them, and they took it. So we held on to this for about a year. Tried to use it a couple of times. Very complicated. Really don't do that much cooking, and realize that a regular food processor does just as good for us. So I listed this as used, even though we really didn't use it. I started off at $400 for it, and it sat there for, this one sat for about 4 or 5 months. Started slowly bringing it down and wound up selling it for $200. Kitchenaid Cookware. I don't buy cookware. I don't buy pots and pans unless we're going to use them. Got this one. Actually, this is a funny story. I screwed up. I bought this for $50. They go for about $400 or $500 new for this particular one. It's the kind that you can just stick in the oven or do it on the top. But I made a mistake, and I learned from it. I made the mistake. I didn't open the box and look very well. I did open the box because it didn't have the manufacturer's tape on it, but it looked like what I could see was in the original packaging. And so wound up selling this to a brand new eBay customer. And God was looking out for me on this one. She bought it for her mother. I shipped it directly to her as a Christmas present. Got word back from her that it was missing a pot, and that a couple of the pots looked like they had been used, but she was still happy with them. She was excited about them. But could I find the other pots, because she didn't want her money back. She didn't want to make her mother try to pack this stuff up. She wanted me to find it. So I actually had to, it took forever. I wound up paying, I think, $100 for a used set, and took the pot out of there and bought a couple of lids. And I still have that other that I'm going to resell. So I did sell this for really good money, but because I screwed up, I wound up only making about $100. It's still good. I doubled my money. Would have made a lot more and learned a really good lesson. This was I've go to a particular estate sale company. I think I've talked to them about it before. They're actually really good friends of mine now. But they know one thing. They know that I'm going to buy stuff, be looking for stuff that is new in the box, that other people pass up because they don't know what it is. I actually bought this sight unseen. I had my mother-in-law, Bobby, I had her, she was coming to visit us that day. I had her stop by. This was on the way. I was looking for something else, and I can't remember what it was, but I wound up not getting a good money. That wasn't a good buy. I did see this in the pictures, and I was talking to the owner of the estate sale company, and I didn't know what this was, so I asked him about it, but I was able to research it as I had him on the phone. He had, I think he had $200 on this, and I thought it was just the one. I offered him $100, and he begrudgingly took it because he knew he wasn't going to be able to sell it to anybody else. When I got it home and looked at it, I was amazed. This is basically a gate opener. It's never been used, never been installed, but this manufacturer has changed the design of the arms. I think this would still work with that system. All the rest of the stuff is the same, but these arms are a little bit different, so it was kind of hard for me to price this. I wound up just throwing a ridiculous price on $1,000, sat on it for about 3 or 4 months, and wound up selling it to a gate installation company up in New York. So they saw that they'd be able to make money because this does go for about $5,000 or $6,000. So I was happy. $100 to $1,000. I did have to put this in a number of boxes. It was $100 shipping, send it through FedEx ground, and never heard from the customer. It's been a while, so it's actually December, so I'm sure he's pretty happy with it. Okay, here's another one of my screw ups. I can't remember who I was watching. They were talking about golf shoes. And so I started looking at golf shoes. Found these. They were new in the box. Oh, no pictures on this one. Thank you, eBay. Anyway, they were new in the box. They still had the tags. They still had the paper in them. I saw dollar signs because these go for great money. I paid, I think, $10 for these. $10 or $15 for them. And they sold really, really quick. First mistake I made on this one. When I do listings, I will do research on them, and I will find the one that sold for the most, and I will do sell now. That way I've got all the specs in there. But one thing that I forgot to do is change it. I usually change up the title because I don't like people to, I want to have my own title up there. I don't want to use theirs, and I change the description and things like that. Obviously add my own pictures. Well, the thing I didn't do on this is I didn't change the size. So I sold this once. It got there, was the wrong size. The person was really, really nice. He let me know. I paid for it to come back, and sent them back out again. Sold them for $125, which was a really good price. 31 days after warranty, the guy actually tried them on. When he tried them on, the bottom split. Now, he said he told me that I actually got him on the phone. he told me that he's owned quite a few by Echo, and he said he's never seen that. This is a very high-end brand. He's never seen that before, but it split down the middle. It wasn't under warranty anymore, but it was my screw up, so I refunded him his shipping and everything. He was ecstatic about that. He did not expect me to do that, but it was my screw up. So from now on, I don't care if it's new in the box or what it is. I will give those things a good bend and make sure that they're not dry rotted. This isn't a great bolo. Everybody knows about the DVD players, but this particular one I got new in the box. It's from the 70s. I paid $10 for this. It sold really fast and for really good money. I think the comps on the used ones were probably about 125, 75 to 125. But this being new in the box, this again was a Christmas present for, I think it was a Christmas present. Let's see, that was in August. It was a birthday present for this guy's father. He got it out. His dad, they got it all set up and it didn't work. So, got on the phone with him. It was a really, really nice guy. If you're nice to the people, the customers, if there's a problem, I will try to get them on the phone, so I can talk to them directly. And first thing I say is, I am sorry, and take responsibility for it. But I did talk him through this. He said he's had quite a few. He has quite a few vintage electronics, and he says that he has experienced in the past where if something hasn't been used for all those years, that sometimes it doesn't work right away, and if you leave it plugged in, it will warm up. The PC boards will warm up, everything, the capacitors will warm up, the motors, the grease that's on them is old, and it'll start working. So sure enough, they let it sit for 2 days, which was amazing. He messaged me back. He said that it works great. His dad loves it. I did say 70s. Obviously, this is not the 70s because they didn't have this in the 70s, and they didn't have barcodes. I was thinking about something else. But anyway, new old stock, made really, really good money on it. This is one of my favorite ones, Marantz. Marantz is really, really good. Some of the newer Marantzes, the AV systems that they have are really good. Some of them are only like $30, $40 used. But the vintage electronics, now the market has gone really soft on these. Most of these will sell used for about $400, maybe $500, maybe $200 if it's in bad shape. I bought this one sight unseen. I was actually camping with my mother-in-law in Myrna, and I knew it was coming up on the estate sale, so I called them when they opened, and I offered them $400. I think they had $460 on it, and I just took it, $460, and then had a friend go by and pick it up for me. Now, this is my first time with these Marantzes. I was very, very excited. This particular model does sell for a lot more. The 2325s, I am not sure why. At the time, they were selling used for $600, $800. But if you restored them, they were selling for $2,000. So I bought a kit for $225. I can't remember the name of the company, but you can message me if you want it. I'll find out for you. He does kits for all kinds of different of the old Marantzes. It was a capacitor kit. It had every board separated, the capacitors in it. He had descriptions of what I needed to do. About bulbs to replace. I got online and watched quite a couple of people who restore these, and I had to replace back behind this plastic is called vellum. It's like a real thin. Well, it's not thin. It's like a real thin cardboard or a real thick paper, and it gets yellowed and it makes it really dim. So I replaced that. I had some bulbs that were out. I replaced those. As it turned out, I did have some capacitors that were bad. I just recapped the whole thing. Now, I grew up knowing how to solder. My dad actually designed and made computer systems. So I did learn how to solder. but I didn't know a whole lot about electronics. I went into playing music and never learned anything about that. But I knew I had solder. So I took this on. I procrastinated quite a few months, ran into some issues, ran into some problems, screwed up with a couple of things, learned, but it took me about I'm wanting to say about a year to actually get this. Was it a year? It may not have been that long. Oh yes, it was a year. It took me a year to finish this. And I was actually a little afraid to sell it because it all tests great, but I know that it would go to a collector and that they would be very particular. And I was just really, really concerned. It's a heavy item. I was really concerned that I wasn't going to that I was going to have to give the money back. But I wound up putting it up there. I started at a high price. I did the Craigslist 100 method of doing an auction. I put it up at 2,000 and let it sit there. Wound up getting well over 200 views, and I had over 100 watches on it. So I threw it up there for 99 cents for a week, and wound up selling it for $1,180. Was very happy to get that. The guy did message me back, and he was very happy. Now, this also did have the schematic and the manual with it. So I will do another one, but it took some time, and I would definitely have to make money on doing that. Okay, this is just another one of those Royal Copenhagens. This is just a little tiny dish, and it's sold for $150. Now, this is a bolo. This is one that Myrna actually caught, because I looked at this and I was like, this is cheap. This is not going to sell for much. I didn't even look at it twice. She actually did. She did a search on it, and it got. She was amazed at how much these go for. Their mother of pearl was 10 karat. It was in the original case. It's a nautical theme. The mother of pearl does better. It also has it comes in black enamel alabaster. Don't sell nearly as well, but I paid $5 for this and wound up selling it for $100. I've got another one that I've got on right now that's not nearly as nice, but I've seen these go for as much as $200. So that's a bolo. It's Kremitz mother of pearl. These guys, I've sold these over and over again. Hallmark wireless snowmen band. They've got different years that they were put out. Basically, what happens is these run on batteries. They each play a Christmas song, and if you have the other ones close by it, what'll happen is that one will start the Christmas song, and the rest of them will start playing. I've got a video on my personal channel for Phil Lewis. But you can find them all day long. Actually, I think there's a trombone player, I believe, that sells for more than this all by himself. But if you can't find all of them, that's fine. Just get what you get. I pay nothing for these. I think I paid $5 for this one. I paid $15 for a set before. I think it's the most I've ever paid. And this one I actually got a little bit less because the battery compartments were a little toasted and I had to clean them up. But yeah, be on the lookout for these. These are really, really good sellers, and the people don't know, unless they bought them themselves, the estate sale people, they don't know what they have. But definitely look at the battery compartment and make sure that it's not roached. So, here's a Marantz SR7001 THX Select 2 Surround Sound AV receiver with the remote. Didn't have to do much with this. I opened it up and blew it out. Sprayed some contact cleaner in it, and I paid $30 for this one. I actually paid $30 a piece. I bought this one, and I bought a couple of others, and I bought a couple of 300 CD players. So this is a bolo, really, really good. Like I said, not all Marantzes are, so definitely do your comps on it. I pick up printers. I haven't picked up printers in a while. I've kind of taken a break unless they're new in the box. A lot of times, if they are new in the box, I can get them cheap and sell them for crazy. But especially the state sales, people don't even look at printers. And you would be surprised. Now, probably about 60% of them are crap. And that a lot of times they have been sitting around. I bought them before and cleaned them. At the very worst, the only thing I've ever found was that the print heads were dirty. Usually, the software will clean that. There have been others that I had to actually take apart to clean. It took me 15 minutes. But I always do really well on these when I get them. I probably paid maybe $20 for this one. I may have paid I paid $15 for this one. I bought it at the same time I bought the Snowmen that I just showed you. You do need to test it. You need to show that it's working. This one came with a box, which was really nice. I do like them when they come with a box and they're styrofoam. That way I just pack it up. I don't even put anything on the box. I just slap the label on it, make sure it's nice and tight inside. And yeah, I sold this for $3.50. Okay, this one doesn't have any pictures, but it is a BOLO. I actually bought and let me see if I can show you what it is. It's actually this right here. There's seats for a patio set. It's 6-piece. I actually bought an umbrella on OfferUp. I needed a new umbrella for my patio set. I think I paid $50 for that. He threw in all these cushions. Now, again, this is something that you have to look up, but this is a really good brand, Sunbrella. Does really, really good. And these were nice, clean. He never used them. I got $180 for them. Not bad for nothing. Here's another one. Now, I'm sure you know about Pfaff sewing machines. If not, definitely look those up. High dollar sewing machines. Sometimes you can get them really cheap. But this one actually was the same place I got that printer and the Snowman. They had these cases, and let me show you what these cases are. They didn't have a Pfaff machine, which was really, really weird. But they had these cases that had never been used. And they actually had this white thing right here is a topper for a sewing machine. I sold the topper separately. I think I paid $90 for all of this. Sold the topper for, I think it was like $125, and then I got $300 for all the rest of these. So that was a really, really good buy. Here's another one. Mosquito magnet. Now what these are, they kill mosquitoes. They have different sizes. This particular one is an acre, covers an acre. Most of them don't sell for much, don't resell for much. They work really, really well. I actually bought this for my acre yard, but my yard is on a 60-degree slant, and you have to, what this does is it simulates the human breath, attracts the mosquitoes to it. There's a little tiny bit of a vacuum that comes up through here. There's a net inside here. It just sucks them into the net. It was full when I bought it. I paid $75 for this. But it needs to be on a level ground because the CO2 does, and the bait doesn't go, it doesn't blow around very well. So I wasn't able to use this, but I wound up selling it for $500. All right, this one lost some pictures also. This is another printer. Let me show you this one. This was one. I got it brand new in the box. I paid $75 for it, and I wound up selling it for $400. As you can see, even the used ones go well. This is my absolute favorite thing that I've ever sold. This was a consignment for a friend in Colorado. It's if you're familiar with the old 70s instruments, this is a Rhodes, which is a very good electric piano, but this is a left-handed bass. It plays all low. There's little tines in there. And, oh, nope, that's something else I sold. That was a pitching machine I sold really well. Anyway, this particular one It's from, actually, this one's from this 1965. This is a speckle top. They come in all kinds of finishes of the plastic top. This is a speckle top. Now, if you're familiar with the Doors, Ray Manzarek played, he was the keyboard player. Did I say that right? Manzarek. He played keyboards and he played left-handed bass, and he played one exactly like this one. When I got it, I cleaned it up, serviced it. I listed it for $3,000, but then I noticed that there was quite a few others that were selling for a lot less, so I dropped the price down. I had a guy from Canada. I had this on Craigslist as well as eBay. I had a guy from Canada that called me. He scours the Craigslist in the United States, in all the major cities, looking for these. He didn't want to have to pay the shipping on it. I think that was the reason the sale fell through. But he told me, he said that he just checked eBay and that there was none others like this. And he said $3,000 was a really good price for this. So I looked, and sure enough, all the other ones had sold. A good reason to hold out on your price. If there's a lot of lower ones and you know it's a good price, let those lower ones sell out and let it be the only one and people will pay it. But the cool thing about this is I sold it to Ray's, his family had an agency that was putting together a tribute to him, and they're going to tour all over the United States, and they had a museum for him in his hometown. They bought this for that, and that was just a really cool honor that this was going to the family of the guy who actually made these famous. So that's very cool. Well, that's it for another one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, hit the ringy-ding thing so that you get notified next time I make a video. And as always, no matter what tune life plays you, always find your groove. Come back and see me.